Hey everyone, today for another vlog. I've been inconsistent with those vlogs lately, more things on my mind, like writing and just processing stuff. Because I think this is just gonna be the subject for today. It's just gonna be the importance of processing stuff. So I made a video about, being a sensitive person, and last vlog, you know, the one that introduced this new semester, this new year, was about processing stuff. And what do I mean by processing stuff? I mean, there's just a simple like realization when you sit with yourself that sometimes life feels a bit overwhelming, right? So when you're more sensitive, you take more stuff in and you're more like easily overwhelmed. On the other side, you're also more like easily inspired to make stuff, right? So it's like a double-edged sword. It can be very good or it can be not so great as well. But just generally, I think I just like when there's just lots of stuff on my life, I need more time to process it and slow down. or or what happens if I don't is that I just become tired, right? So like so many of my vlogs last year were about me being tired and about trying to resolve that. But really, I think it's actually quite simple. I think I just need more time away from stuff, away from screens. Honestly, I've been spending more time away from screens. Reading books have been great for me, like reading actual books, not books on like a PDF file or like a Kindle or whatever. Like digital. Physical books are a lot better. Just to slow down and to take yeah, more my time more and really have a more simple life as well as a more simple inner life. Right? It's kind of the two are kind of linked to one another. So like typically what would happen is that I would be tired. Another symptom would be of being a bit too overwhelmed and not having time to like slow down enough would be to like have headaches, right? So very recurrent thing for me that like the headaches I have were tension, like they were related to tension. I don't know if there's like a term for it, maybe tension headache, as simple as that. But it's just generally like stress, which tends to sort of like literally rise up to my head. I could literally feel like the energy rising to my head, and it would create like a headache. Like it's a lot of the metaphors we have around the body are actually quite literal, physical, in my experience. And so like yeah, typically becoming better at like recognizing when this happens and dealing with it before it becomes a headache has been sort of a pretty big improvement to my quality of life. Uh, yeah, screens also are quite bad in that regard, where they typically make headaches worse. For example, I realized that like I have a lot of tension in my eyes. Right? So, like when I'm tired, it's not so much that I'm tired in my body or my muscles or whatever, or my. It's more like I'm tired in my eyes, and so I find that learning to just sit down with my eyes closed, even if I was let's say like listening to something, right? Even if I was actually it might even be better. It might actually be better to listen to something because like it would keep me more awake. But like closing my eyes seems really important for me to like restore energy. Uh, Again, I don't know why there's a lot of tension in my eyes, but I think the relationship between like tension in your eyes and eyesight problems are very real. They're not discussed at all. Like when you go to an eye doctor or an ophthalmologist, they only talk about, as if it was some type of incurable symptom or whatever. But really, I've come to really believe, especially because there's a channel called all about. It's called myopia is mental. So myopia is the eyesight problem that is the most current, the most common. Myopia is mental. It's about a channel about how basically he learned to like improve his eyesight with very simple but daily practice exercises and ways of like looking better, like using his eyes better. So typically, the biggest problem with eyesight, I think, that he describes and what I've gathered is that people basically like tunnel vision. They have like you could say they have like a hound gaze, right? Like they tunnel vision instead of having like a very wide and expansive, soft gaze that really, so like in essence, this eye tension, right? Eye tension seems to be very related to eyesight problems. And another part of it is also like how much you move your eyes versus how much you move your head. So like moving your head is generally much better, but to the extent that you're gonna move your eyes, you want to sort of like move them, how to say, like uniformly, right? Like we typically move eyes a lot more side to side than up to down, and this creates imbalances in our eyes, very real imbalances, such as astigmatism and whatever. Those are also problematic. And a third general problem, right? So I've talked about mm, soft versus hard gaze, and this was about which way you move your eyes. And the third problem is also related to like posture, right? Like if you look at things head on, with a straight back and whatever, this is great. But if you look at some things like tilted or uh, with your a bad posture of your neck or whatever, it tends to also make your eyesight worse. Not really sure how I could explain that, but it's just a general tip he gave. I think he also gave his explanation, but I don't remember that one particular. But generally, eyesight is very uh, tension based. Like it's a very real thing in the body that you can learn to do better. And yeah, I've definitely noticed that my eyesight can significantly shift between depending on like my inner state or whatever. Like just learning to like relax definitely makes it more uh, easier on the eyes, and I feel like it's easier to see things. Yeah. All in all, very interesting thing. Right? It's very interesting how much like all of these things are linked to one another. The way the modern world promotes tension, it promotes very coercive lifestyle, very fast lifestyle, right? Related to this one about processing stuff. So yeah, typically I think people generally need to slow down in life. I think that's just the general sense. Like it's very rare that you would hear someone be like, "Oh, you need to go faster in life." Like maybe in their work they need to be more productive, they need to be more decisive, right? But like it's very rare that generally people should be faster in their life. Usually they should probably just be slower overall, and maybe learn to be more productive when they need to. But you don't work all the time with this, so you kind of want this. You could say like this barbell strategy. It's called. So you want like the hot and the cold, but you don't want to be in the middle. Right? So you want to be able to live life slowly, but also be able to work productively when you need to. But being in the middle is generally kind of a lot of the times being in the middle is actually pretty bad. But like in some contexts, being in the middle is like a virtue, right? It's temperance. But in some other contexts, being in the middle is like this awkward middle that doesn't accomplish anything. But it's like you'd rather be either resting and just relaxing, or you'd rather be working productively. But being in the middle is kind of a you're not really resting, not working. It's kind of it's not really helpful. All in all, I think, yeah, learning to recognize the importance of rest in my life. I think just generally I've been burnt out, honestly. I think that's been kind of the main thing. And moving away from screens was kind of nice. Like, I've been really enjoying the books I've read. There's a book by, I don't think he's really known. He's written like one notable novel, but that's the one that people always refer to. The author is Dino Buzzati. I had no idea who he was. I just like in my workplace there's like sort of an informal library within it, right? So it's just like a bookshelf where people can deposit books and take them. It's very informal, right? It's not like there's a system that tracks that you need to give it at some point. But uh, books are not the thing that people would steal, so I don't think there's really any need to make such a formal system. So I usually just borrow a few books there and then I put them back when I'm done reading them. And so I picked up a book about Buzzati's short stories, and it's really interesting. What he writes about is essentially a sort of like could say it's like the fantastical running into daily life, but in such a way that it feels so much more real than a lot of real things. That the fantastical in the stories is very like it blends really well, and the way he's able to like grab your attention within like the first sentence is really nice. Like his stories are like 3 to like 7 pages long, so they're really short. But they always have this really interesting like it's like it really makes you think about the world. It's sometimes they lean more to horror, sometimes they lean more to humor. It's very interesting, like the breadth of tonality. But generally, the subject I've seen in the short story collection I've read so far is about basically like a sense of enchantment, right? A sense of enchantment that things are just weirder than they might which is not necessarily good or bad, right? But it's more in the sense that the world is weirder than we usually are conditioned to think about it. And also, there's also this sense of like alienation from society. Like it's this he was let me check just the date of when he was alive. But it's a 21st century writer. uh, 20th century writer, so last century. Um, Born in 1906 and died in 1972. Right? So he was right in the two world wars. So this the theme of alienation in the modern world is very obviously very common within those writers. Technology is obviously very overwhelming in terms of how it changes and how it changed that particular century. So very very expected themes, but the way he talks about them is very interesting. Right? So like trains and cars, they kind of feel in some stories they straight up are alive, but in some other stories they just feel a bit like this sort of creepy aliveness to them. Right? Like it feels like it's like an ecosystem spreading rather than like a man-made thing. Right? If that makes sense. So yeah, I don't think I have much to add. It's kind of good to talk actually. I I didn't realize how much I enjoy making those vlogs because with work I always express myself with like words when I'm at work. If I feel like uh, something in my that I need to express, I do it in like a Word document or whatever. Um, not Microsoft Word, but like just a document with words, through writing. But actually talking out loud is actually kind of nice. It's uh it's more live. It's more it's more live. So yeah, that's about everything I'd say for today. Thank you for listening, and I see you next time.